Hey there. So you know by the title of this video what this video is about. It's true. I will be leaving Raleigh City Farm at the end of the year, going home and reopening Sattin Hill Farm, and I want to give you a bunch of information today. Reasons why I decided to do this, what the plans are for Sattin Hill Farm for next year, and what to expect on this channel moving forwards. So let's first talk about the reasons I made my decision. And I don't take this stuff lightly. It's very complicated, as in most big decisions in life, and I feel like at every point in your life you have to just decide what the best thing is at that time, and there's no right or wrong answer and things like this, and you just have to do what's best for you and your family. And this is a tough decision, and I feel like it wasn't that long ago when I started at Raleigh City Farm, and it really wasn't. It was February 1st, and this year times felt very strange, as most of you guys know, with COVID and all the things that have happened. And I'm really happy, first of all, about where Raleigh City Farm is right now and the transformation that's happened this year. And people ask me all the time about what I'm most proud of about this year. And honestly, it's not the farm and the way it looks. And it looks incredible. I mean, we have everything super dialed in, systems, beds are in great shape. We have very little weed pressure. We're building soil for next year with cover crops and all of our no-till strategies. And the farm really is set up for whoever or whomever take over the stewardship next year. So whatever farmer or farmers are going to be coming in, they have a system that's already set up here, and it's in great shape and going to be very productive next year. And I feel really happy to be able to offer that to Raleigh City Farm as an organization and to the Raleigh community as well. And I think that shows a lot about what we've done here this year. And you know, people always ask me what I'm the most proud of, and frankly, it's not the way the place looks. And I don't say this in a way that's, you know, bragging or anything, because when I looked at this farm here at the end of last year, I knew that the farm would look like this when we were done. I had the vision of this style, this setup, this layout. I pretty much saw it right from the beginning, and it does look incredible, and I'm very proud of that. But the thing I'm most proud about are the people, and the people that I've worked with and gotten to know, and our relationships. And I don't want to name names or not name names, but you know, all the interns, all the volunteers here, all the people that have helped out and made this possible. And it's just been truly special, the relationships, the friendships, all the learning that's happened here, both for myself and for everyone involved. And it's truly been incredible. And that's what I take away the most. And this year has not turned out the way I expected. And I think some of that has to do with COVID. And I don't want to say that that's not a big part of it. There was a lot of ideas I had here about workshops and classes and things like that never happened. And they may happen next year, or they could happen next year. I don't know. We don't really know what's going to happen with all that. And right now, it is what it is. So that's part of it. And then, a personal level for me, my kids are doing distance learning right now, and they will be until at least the summer next year in 2021. And so my wife's a nurse, and she does really important work at a hospital, and her job's pretty inflexible. And so for me, as you guys, I've told you before, I do a lot of more of the taking care of the kids and the home stuff. And so for me, I just want a lot more flexibility, and I want to be home more. And I think that's important, because at least through most of the growing season next year, my kids are going to be home, and that's really important for me. Also, I have a couple of projects coming up next year that I'm really excited about, and I need a little bit more time and flexibility to work on them. And I'm not going to be selling stuff on this channel. I have said that before, so don't expect me to be selling you a book or a course here. That's not what it is. And I'm sorry I can't give you more details at the moment, but it's really in its infancy, and I'm really excited about it. I think a lot of you guys are going to be really excited about it as well. And I need more flexibility to work on some more stuff. And so one thing is, I thought about, should I just stop farming altogether? And the reality is I don't want to. And so I will talk about how I'm going to make that work at home in a little bit. But the other part of it is, I feel that my place is about for the for-profit model. And the nonprofit space is beneficial in a lot of ways. It brings education to a community. It brings awareness about sustainable agriculture to people that would never experience it. People walk by here all the time and can see this farm and what we do, and they can buy the food here, and that's really special. And I think we've been donating a lot of food too, and I think that's super important as well. But I think that overall, my place in the community and in the agriculture space and in the world is more aligns with the for-profit model, because I think for us to make a bigger dent in the food system, we have to work on for-profit farms so that these farms are sustainable long-term. If people aren't making money doing this, then they won't be farmers long-term, and we need more people growing food. So I think that's personally that aligns more with what I want to do. And so that's what's going on with the farm, and that's sort of my decisions. And I'm excited to get back into farming and, less managerial role and more actual farming. And so I'll talk more about how that's going to work when I go back home and show you what the plans are there. But I just feeling really positive about it, and I've had a great experience this year, and I'm not feeling negative about it at all, and I'm really happy for Raleigh City Farm and what they have at the moment here, and I look forward to seeing where it goes from here. So let me take you guys back home, and I'll talk about what the plans are for Sattin Hill Farm and show you what all that looks like. All right, back home, and it's late afternoon, so it's not as much light out here right now. And as I was driving home, I realized I am not going to miss the commute. It's but 30 to 35 minutes each way, so I'm not going to miss that time spent in the car and burning that gas, so that'll be nice. And I also realized that I think my role this year in Raleigh City Farm was really to get the farm back on track, and I think now that could be easily run by somebody else now that it's all set up. And so my next project and my next goal here is to get back onto Sattin Hill Farm and running my farm the way I was before, but in a different way. And so that's what I want to talk about now. So if you guys remember, if you've been following along on the channel, I had, I think, almost 30 50-foot beds at one point, and it was too much for me to handle. And so I'm not going to get close to that number. And so what I'm going to start with, I have 2 tunnels ordered from Farmer's Friend. So 2 of the Gothic Pro 100-foot tunnels, and I'll put a link down below if you guys want to check that out. And I have 2 of them coming. And so what I'm going to do here is, you can see here, probably, let me get out of the way for a second. So I got the chickens prepping area out here, and I'm going to be building 1 tunnel at a time, and they're 100-foot tunnels, so I'll have 8 50-foot beds, or just under 50-foot beds in each tunnel. And so I'll start with approximately 16 beds, and I think that's actually going to be a pretty good amount for me. Remember that this is not a full-time job for me, as I've been very upfront about before, is that I spend a lot of time making videos for YouTube and working for no-till growers and some other stuff. And so this isn't a full-time farming gig for me, and it doesn't need to be a full-time salary as well. So keep that in mind. But what I want to concentrate on this year, in 2021, is trying to be as efficient as possible on a small space. And I've always been that way, but a big part of it is growing under cover. And I know I've been talking about that a lot with the tunnels at Raleigh City Farm, and when people ask me about things you should invest in when you first start, and I always say get tunnels. Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grow 100% under cover. And so I'm going to start with those 16 beds and really try to be as efficient as possible. I'm going to have a combination of drip and overhead in there, and really, crank it out. And so this space is great because this is where my beds were before, so the soil's in great shape. And since then, there's been grass growing out here, and I've been grazing the chickens, so there's a lot of good biology and things like that here. So this should be prime time for growing vegetables again, and so that's gonna be the strategy. And so expansion plans, I'm gonna set up an area for a potential 3rd tunnel if I need that later in the year or over the winter. So gonna have space for 300-foot tunnels, and that'll give me up to 24 beds. I'm also gonna be taking apart my Caterpillar tunnel, which you guys have seen before, that PVC tunnel, and without trying to spend as little money as possible, take a section of it, maybe 25 to 30 feet or so, and put that over here and turn that into my nursery, and so that I can move as much out from the garage as possible. I really want to try to not grow under lights at all, or very, very little. And so I'm going to be doing that out in the nursery here, and probably some new nursery stuff that I'll be implementing too, which I'm really excited about. You're probably wondering about the chickens and microgreens. So first of all, we're going to keep the chickens for just a little bit longer, because I want them to clear out the beds and the area for me. They have a bunch of work to do. And then we're actually probably going to be getting rid of the chickens, because I just really want to simplify my life at the farm here and at my home. And I've had chickens for, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years now, 4 years. And as you guys know, if you've had livestock, it's a continual commitment every morning, every evening. When you go away, you have to have someone watch them for you. And I think for us, I'm going to try to keep the beds in the greenhouses and keep it really compact, and then outside of that, it's going to basically be a yard for our family. And so I don't want chickens and chicken poop and all that stuff going on, and so I want to make sure that I can keep it as compact as possible. So we will be getting rid of the chickens, and I'm not going to be growing microgreens. I haven't really talked much about the fact that I stopped growing microgreens and didn't bring them down to Raleigh City Farm, but I found that when I was doing them here, they became kind of a crutch for me. Kind of like, you know, if I had more crop failure, I would just grow more microgreens. And I find that I want to just get better at growing outside and growing those kinds of crops. And so that's one of the reasons why I won't be doing microgreens here. And that's, you know, what I'm going to be doing, at least for this year. In terms of sales outlets, I'm going to be looking to sell to a handful of restaurants. I already have some great relationships with chefs, and I hope to work out arrangement with them and basically grow to order. So find out what the chefs want and just grow what they want, and be really consistent with successions and plantings, because I have the tunnels and I'll be able to grow all year round. I have shade cloth ordered, so I'm going to be as consistent as possible over the summer as well. So that's another great thing that we're going to have going on here. But essentially, it's going to be, as I said, we're going to have just a bunch of tunnels out here, 2 or 3, 2 to start, and we're going to grow in there. And sort of the similar crops I've been growing before, but it's been a great learning experience this year, picking up a few new ones that work well and seeing what people like and those sorts of things. And so that's what's going to be going on out here. And so let me talk a little bit more about the channel and how that's going to be impacted. Well, I felt a little bit weird. I didn't really talk about this, but you know, this year when I transitioned to Raleigh City Farm, most of the time that you guys were watching me was the story here was me in starting a farm in my suburban backyard. And I think that's what most of you guys connected with. And I think that it was a little bit weird when I was like, all right, I'm gonna go run this nonprofit farm in an urban environment. A lot of the techniques were the same, but it was a very different, you know, situation that you guys were watching. And so I think that for a lot of you that have been watching for a long time, this will resonate with you guys again, because this is really what Sattin Hill Farm had been and what I was, you know, why I started the channel. And so that will be here too. So I'll probably have a mixture of content in December. Probably some more stuff down at Raleigh City Farm as we wrap up stuff there, and we have a couple more projects that we want to work on, like getting that new greenhouse, getting the beds in there all up and going. And then I'll be getting the tunnels in a few weeks, hopefully here. And I want to document all of that process as well. I think I see a lot of people that use Farmer's Friend tunnels, but I think it'll be cool to see it getting delivered and getting set up, and how I set up the irrigation, and how I transition into fully growing under cover, and how that changes the way I grow. And I think that this is a really cool model, because I'm going to be on literally the smallest acreage possible, growing the maximum amount of food. And I think that this will hopefully inspire other people and give you guys new ideas about, you know, how you can maximize your production in a very small space. I know a lot of people that say, I only have 1/10 of an acre or 1/4 of an acre, and you know, the production is going to be so much better in a tunnel. I'd say you get 2 to 3x production in a tunnel than you get outside. And I think one of the reasons why I got overwhelmed with growing here when I had too many beds, and I actually covered a bunch of beds to just bring down the production level, was that I had a lot of failed crops. And so I was unnecessarily flipping beds and planting, when if I just had gotten more production out of each bed, I could be putting less effort in. And I think that's going to be a big part of the success here for Sattin Hill Farm. So as I said, the next month, it'll be kind of a mixture of content, or mostly at Raleigh City Farm, and then you'll see stuff here as I have things to share with you, and I'll be showing the process as we rebuild the farm here. In terms of investment, I ordered a couple tunnels, have to buy a bunch of compost. I do have all my tools and all that stuff that I will be bringing back to my farm, because they're my tools, and so that'll be great. It won't be a huge investment in terms of that, and we should be up and rolling, you know, within a few months, and hopefully getting vegetables out of the ground by, I'm hoping like March or April is sort of my goal. It's basically as soon as I can, and so we'll be able to plant, because we're planting into tunnels. We can plant pretty much all winter. Things will grow slowly, but we can start growing, and so I'm really excited about that. But anyways, I know there's a lot, and I'm sure you guys will have some questions here, but hopefully you guys will be positive down in the comments, and everyone's gonna have an opinion. But just remember, this is what's best for me and my family, and I think that I can offer more to the world in terms of showing the story and the progress on a farm like this, and just the bigger picture I think is important here. So that's what we got for you guys today. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support through the first, you know, bit of time at Raleigh City Farm and my farm and all that. So thanks so much again. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. A lot of cool stuff coming up, and we'll see you in the next one.